Select Board meeting. We'll call the meeting to order, and I just want to, as usual, read our public participation policy. The Hatfield Select Board welcomes everyone to its meetings and all other public meetings of the town of Hatfield. Can we have anyone watching the meeting mute? John Pease, can you please mute yourself? Thank you. All regular and special meetings of the boards and committees of the town of Hatfield shall be open to the public and shall conform to the open meeting law. Executive sessions are closed to the public and will be held only as prescribed by the statutes of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. It is important to recognize that the open meeting law affords the opportunity to listen to the proceedings, but not necessarily participate. During meetings of the Select Board, an attempt will be made to find a balance between hearing from members of the community and required business of the Hatfield Board. Before we get, I'm going to just go over, just to do announcements quickly so that we don't forget to do that. The announcement I would like to make is we would like to acknowledge the passing of Buster Szymanski. Buster was, our electrical inspector for well over 30 years, right, Marlene? 35 or 36 years. And
John Pease again.
It's John again. And, we were so grateful to have him as such a dedicated employee, and he did so many other things around town, the flags for Memorial Day, and there's a really long list of wonderful things Buster did, and it's a very sad loss. And I just want to acknowledge that on behalf of the board and thank Buster for everything that he did. So that was sad. Did you have any announcements?
No, it's springtime and things are moving along and more vaccinations in the area. I think we're moving towards normal, but we still have to adhere to the policy of washing your hands, wearing your mask, keep distance, and just hang in there a little bit longer. We'll get there.
Absolutely. Brian, anything?
No, I didn't have anything. Thank you very much.
Okay, so do we have anyone here for public forum? Okay. Approval of minutes.
Man, there are a ton of minutes to approve, huh? So I'm just going to sort of do a few at a, at a time. I'll lump them in small groups in case any of us have questions. So I will make a motion to approve the minutes of February 16th. The executive, let me start over. I'll make a motion to approve the regular Board of Selectmen meeting minutes from February 16th. The Board of Selectmen executive session minutes from February 22nd. The regular meeting minutes from February 22nd. And I'll stop there, so that will take care of February.
I'll second that.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll make a motion to approve the March 3rd regular meeting minutes of the Select Board.
Excuse me. John Pease. John, can you hear me? John?
I can't hear anything from the board either,
Oh.
Our mics are off.
or the meeting itself.
Oh,
Okay.
it says my mic is off.
I can't hear anything either.
Okay, hang
How long were
on.
they going to let us go before they said
I
something?
know. Gosh, I had some moments of
10 minutes.
brilliance in there.
I would turn the volume up on.
There you go.
Yeah.
How about now?
Yeah,
Yes?
Okay.
I can hear you.
Okay.
Eric?
Eric, you can hear us?
Yes, now I can.
Okay, great. And if we could ask, thank you for the heads up, and if we could ask everybody who's on remotely to actually mute their phones now or their computers, that would be great. Just because you couldn't hear us, but we can hear you.
John Pease, could you mute your microphone, please? John?
Okay.
Okay. Let's just move on.
Okay, I think I mentioned the March 3rd minutes. I will also make a motion to approve
March 3rd,
the
March 4th.
March 4th meeting minutes. I'll make a motion to approve the March 4th executive session meeting minutes, and I'll leave those three together.
March 3rd.
Yep.
Yeah, there's two for March 4th, an executive session and a regular, and then a regular
Yep.
March 3rd meeting.
I didn't have the March 3rd in my packet.
So I'll make the motion for the March 3rd and 4th, those three sets of minutes.
I'll second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion?
No, thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll make a motion to approve the board regular meeting minutes of March 9th, the executive session meeting minutes of March 9th, the regular session meeting minutes of March 15th, and the executive session meeting minutes of March 15th.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion?
No, thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, and then finally, I will make a motion to approve the regular session meeting minutes of March 16th, 2021, and the minutes from the joint meeting with the Finance Committee on March 23rd.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion?
Nope.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We've been busy,
Yep.
and you guys have been busy. Thank you for that. Okay.
Excuse me.
Posted business. So we are going to have an update from our COVID coordinator, and I'm happy to say that Claudia is joining us tonight. Claudia, do you want to turn on your camera? And
My camera unfortunately is not working
Okay.
very well on this computer.
okay,
It's very, you would get us a lot of static, unfortunately.
okay. Well, that's okay. We have your audio, so that's good. So the floor is yours, Claudia.
Okay, well, the COVID cases in town continue to remain pretty steady. In the past couple of weeks, we're averaging about 5 new cases a week. And that's not counting some of the contact events that we've had. There was one associated with the Delaney House and a party that occurred there, but that was simply a contact event and nothing that I can, record in Maven or anything like that. We've had a few anonymous complaints come in about a business in town. I've made several attempts to contact these folks and never received any callbacks, so I don't know what business or businesses they may be referring to. I know that there was a complaint about Hatfield beef and the employees there not really wearing masks, and I believe that was addressed by the Board of Health, who spoke with them directly or went in to visit them and went over COVID policy and such again with them. We've had a recent problem with a landscaping company in Hatfield, where it appears that the majority, if not all, of the employees have contracted COVID. However, those cases seem to be out of town. They've been shared with me to make me aware of what's going on with that particular company. Charlie Kanicki, your health agent, did follow up with them on their COVID plan and what they were doing. My understanding is they were shutting the business down for a period of time in order to do a disinfecting before they allowed people back in. And I don't know what the case count exactly was, but I want to say that there may have been up to 12 people exposed there. But again, none of them were Hatfield residents that came up on my radar with the Maven system.
Okay. I want to be careful, Claudia, about calling out specific businesses, particularly by name on this, so I just,
I'm sorry.
yeah,
Okay. So, there have been some complaints that have come in about, particular businesses, but those, I believe, have been, addressed by the Board of Health, who, really has more authority there to enforce the policies and make sure that they're doing the right things and the things that they need to do. There has been a little bit of activity with the school. Not a lot. There may have been one COVID positive that has not yet shown up into the Maven system. So it's nothing that I can officially count right now, unfortunately. So, I have to wait for these cases to show up in Maven to be able to accurately count them. But as I mentioned earlier, I mean, the cases seem to be remaining steady at around, 4 to 5 new cases a week. And these are not necessarily all same household cases. They're just kind of popping up randomly. There have been, a few college students coming home where it's possible that they contracted it out of state. And then started showing symptoms when they, got back home to Hatfield. But that's pretty much all that I have to report on as far as COVID activity in town. I mean, we seem to be kind of remaining steady with the case count. And I'm not sure that that's necessarily tied to anything specifically in town. It seems that some of these people are either retired or they're working someplace out of town. So, where they're contracting this, nobody seems to be, no one is entirely certain as to where they might have picked it up.
right, which has obviously been the case for, most cases for the last year. So, okay, I'm okay with that update. Do you have anything?
Yeah, hey Claudia, it's Brian. So I just had a quick question. You mentioned something about there might be a case of a student, but it's not in the Maven system. I mean,
Or
what?
at the school, I think. she
Or
means.
at the school, or at the school, yeah, not necessarily a student, but at the school. So what is, not to get into the nitty gritty and the personal side of things, but why would we think that, and then why, and if it is positive, why is it not in the Maven system?
My understanding is that the child is showing symptoms and not feeling well. The parent is going to be bringing, or was going to be bringing the child in for testing today. The turnaround on those results can sometimes take some time before they show up in the Maven system.
Sure, so, okay, thanks.
A tremendous lag between the time that the state is getting these into the system and the time that I receive them sometimes.
Sure, I understand. So really what we have is we have a student who has some symptoms which may or may not be COVID, and then we're waiting for a test result to come back. Is that?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So it could be the flu, or it could be something. It could be I just want to make sure people listening or watching this understand that, like anytime somebody's ill these days for the last year, it may or may not, people may or may not think it's COVID.
I think that it's concerning to me to be talking about these things without any confirmation of.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that we should be very careful about putting information out like this that we have no reason to, we have no confirmation that this is at all COVID related. So I'd want to be careful about statements like that at meetings like this, that's all.
Right, and these, that report was coming directly from the school to me, from the school nurse to me, just to give me a heads up and make me aware that that might be going on, that might be the case.
Understood.
Yeah.
I think to Diana's point, and I think what I'm probably trying to say also, Claudia, is that unless we have a positive case or we know for certain, we probably, it's not that we shouldn't bring it up, but we need to be careful maybe how we word it.
Yeah.
So people don't interpret it to we don't want someone to say, now there's an outbreak. I mean, so that's,
And I feel the same way about mentioning it regarding the school or regarding businesses,
Yeah.
particularly businesses that have been named specifically. I'm not comfortable with that. So, Ed, did you have something?
I just have one question, Claudia. I think you mentioned that there was a business you were unable to contact. In a case like that, what is the process or backup plan? Does the Board of Health step in to help you try to contact that business, or what else can be done?
It was not a business that contacted and made the complaint. It was an individual in the community. I've tried 3 times to make contact and left messages and have received no call back at this point. So
But you've
for
been
me, it's,
contacting a business.
I'm sorry?
It's a business that you're contacting.
Oh, the specific business that
No,
was
I don't need to
being-
know the specific business. I know that it was an individual who contacted you, but you're trying to reach out to a town business. Is that what you're telling us? And they're not getting back to you?
no, the complainant.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Never mind, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you had said.
No, that's okay, never mind, just, you were saying,
Okay.
anyway, okay, did you have anything else, Ed?
No, I
Okay.
just,
To Ed's point, I would imagine that Claudia does the contact tracing.
Right.
She is in charge of Maven. If something locally needs to be followed up on, that should be a member of the Board of Health that goes out there
That's what I was
to
wondering.
get to the bottom of it. And then report back
Particularly-
and get back to
Yes,
Claudia.
particularly if there's been efforts made to contact and
absolutely.
by Claudia, and it's not,
Absolutely.
that's what,
That's how it should work.
exactly, Claudia.
Yes, and that's what I'm trying to encourage with the Board of Health, is that if I receive a complaint about something.
ABC
or
company,
a
yeah.
business, then it should be the Board of Health addressing that particular business. I'm simply doing the contact tracing and the Maven, coordination.
That is exactly and
Yes.
absolutely how that's supposed to work.
I agree.
One of the members of the Board of Health should be following up with that business or person or whatever the circumstances
Yes,
are.
agreed. Okay,
So if that's not happening, it needs to start happening like yesterday.
Yes.
So,
I believe that your health agent and the Board of Health both have been working to address some of those issues with particular businesses.
okay.
great,
Great,
thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Did you have anything additional, Claudia?
I do not.
Okay, great. Thank you for coming tonight, and thank you for that update.
Thank you,
It
Claudia.
occurred to me, Marlene, that we got into the agenda, and you had mentioned taking an agenda item out of order.
Yes.
So Eric, we know that you're here tonight to address the, where is it on here? Wastewater treatment plant upgrades project, which is way down in the agenda. So if you'd like, we will take that out of order so that, I know this meeting is very exciting and interesting and everything, but perhaps you don't want to stay for the whole thing. So are you ready to go now?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay. Are you going to be joined by Phil? Are you waiting for Phil or, oh, Phil's here.
Yeah, he's on here.
Okay. So if you'd like to go ahead, we can do that, Eric, and take it out of order.
Okay,
I mean, Eric.
we had a meeting, about 2 weeks ago, myself, Phil, Marlene, and EPC, our engineer, that is putting in, grant application for the USDA grant. And it was basically just information meeting. And Marlene thought it'd be a good idea if we came on, and if there's anything
the
that,
board.
any questions that you guys might have, about what's going on or in the project, we could.
So I can't hear well. You're sort of breaking up for some reason, Eric. But you're just asking if we have any questions about this
Moving forward, yes.
Right.
This is at the plant, actually, and this is
Right.
that, we had done all of that.
So the upgrade study was completed.
Right, so that we
Two
could
manuals are
qualify
sitting
for
in
the
on
USDA
Right, so we're going
financing.
to be filing an application for
Okay.
grant funding for, some of the upgrades. And then, as you know, that, reviewing water and sewer enterprise funds last year, and we're not even covering all of our operating expenses, never mind capital. So, we, as Eric explained, that we had this meeting a couple weeks ago, and just the agenda items that were covered here, and that we will be moving forward with submitting an application. Dave Prickett Engineering will be assisting the town with working on that grant application.
That's great.
Great.
Is that a grant that's, and does it require any kind of match, or is it just?
Yes,
It does require,
yeah,
Right.
that grant's,
Yeah.
this, what he has explained to us
Yeah.
is the same one that Orange got. They ended up getting, I believe, over $3 million in a grant to go towards their upgrade project. That was one of the reasons we brought the sewer rate up, so we'd be in line
Yep.
as one of the pre-qualifications to actually get the grant.
I do remember that.
And Eric, at that meeting, I had asked the question whether we would need to include an article on this year's annual town meeting warrant, and if I remember correctly, James and David said, no, it wouldn't be necessary until next year.
Yes, that's exactly what
Okay.
he had said. He said in the next month or so here, he's actually going to put in actually submit the grant. Obviously, he'll have to have signatures from Marlene to do so. And then after we find out what or if they're going to give us any grant money, then we move forward on putting things on town meeting agendas and stuff. So.
Okay. Is there any indication, I mean, the full sort of schedule for this, the total upgrades is, of course, a very sizable price tag. Is there any projection of how much the grants might cover?
It all depends on what they said it could be up to 35 to 40% of the project. So with a projected price of $11 million, I mean, basically
12.
we could get
Yeah, call it 12.
It's 12.
yeah, up to $4 best case scenario,
Okay,
which would be amazing. I mean,
that would be great, yeah. Okay, well, it's,
with us getting the generator, because that's part of the money that's allocated here.
yes,
That's $350,000 of projected costs plus engineering costs. So I don't know if that changes that moving forward, but I've talked to him and I'm supposed to talk to him tomorrow about.
okay. And you'll just keep,
Application or what he has to, so.
okay,
Yeah, as long as we keep him in the loop, I would imagine, with the status of that generator replacement, of course, and then, Yeah.
Absolutely.
So just,
So I think it would just be, it's gonna be a matter of just probably removing that line out of the grant, the generator.
okay. I didn't even think I saw it
I
on
didn't
here.
either.
I don't
Not
see the,
specific.
on the,
Yeah, it's not
the upgrade
specific to
project
that.
spreadsheet I have, unless there's
buried in
some
the 11
different,
million
unless it's
somewhere.
operation,
Yeah.
no, it can't be operations, because that's,
There's two under electrical system.
Okay,
second
electrical would make sense.
oh,
yeah.
okay,
39,
Okay.
that's the generator itself.
okay,
So, like I said, well, if you put that with the engineering cost, that's right around 400,000. It probably could come off of it.
yep,
But I don't think it's going to affect anything. It just brings down the bottom line a little bit. So,
a very little bit,
yeah.
a very
Yes,
big, very big bottom line, okay.
I-
But every little bit helps.
I think that we need, and I'm sure Dave would do this, but I think we need to make sure that Dave tells us, or he understands, that this not only are we getting the new generator, and that it can come off, hopefully, the specifications for the grant request, but that the generator we buy today is not going to be a problem with that grant application and the other $11 million we're looking for. You know, we just need to make sure it's all in sync. We don't want to have
Yeah.
an oops at the end of, at the end of this year type thing.
And that's what we're gonna talk to him about
Okay.
tomorrow, just to make sure everything's okay with that.
Yeah.
He would like to, after you guys get through the budgeting process and getting things situated for town meeting, he wants to come in and actually at a select board meeting, be able to go over some parts of the master plan that he got finished to present to you guys and the town. That was basically part of what the little workshop was about.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay.
Well, good job, Eric and
Yeah.
Phil and Dave Prickett. I mean, Dave always seems to have Hatfield, on the forefront of the
Good to
work.
have
So
him
it's,
Yeah.
on our
Yeah.
team,
Yeah.
for sure.
Does a good job.
Eric, thank you very much. Phil, thank you. Did you want to add anything, Phil, or?
No, I think Eric covered it. Like I said, it's just a matter of, notifying them about that generator project. I don't see any problem with just removing it from the grant application. It is what it is. I mean, it's something we need today, not tomorrow, so.
Yeah. Okay.
Just quickly regarding the generator, so I addressed a letter today to DCAM Division of Capital Asset and Maintenance Management, that the Board of Selectmen declared an emergency, and just, spelled out what the emergency is with the generator, when that
Okay.
occurred. And of course, we still have to follow any requirements, relative to prevailing wages and bid bonds.
sure, okay.
So the request is to, under two purposes of Chapter 149, is to waive the bidding requirements process and the advertising. And I also had stated in the letter that we had received three quotes,
Yeah.
three different, quotes from
I
vendors.
mean, I still
and
want to
those
make sure we're
vendors
getting
were-
a competitive price.
Right.
I know we need to do this quickly,
So,
but.
and all three, the lowest was 99,500, and the other one was 108, and then 128.
And I'm not sure we've had this conversation, because this all kind of happened in the last couple weeks, just for if people at home or online might be wondering what we're talking about.
Eric,
And-
do you want to give a
Yeah.
very quick overview of what happened with the generator and why?
We're doing this, right?
Yep, that's a good point, because it is a big ticket item, and townspeople should understand what's going on.
Yes, we have, 2 weeks ago, we had a problem, when we had a power outage, generator did not work at the treatment plant, didn't come on and transfer the power like it's supposed to keep things running smoothly. Upon further review, we found out that that gear is, antiquated and we can't get repair parts for it. We run it emergency path, but, it needs to be replaced on an emergency level, because we're not sure how long it'll actually run for. So we all, obviously, we talked about it at the other meetings, we have to have this generator and required for us to have some kind of standby power at the waste treatment, so we don't contaminate the or any kind of bad case areas, we can get in trouble for not having it. So the board and the finance board came together and the money to actually get a generator, transfer back in compliance, and don't have any problems or any worries about actually violating our permit.
Okay.
Thank you.
And we should add that the current generator is 40 years old.
You took the,
Yeah.
you
Okay.
took the- always stealing my thunder.
Okay, thank you for doing that.
Thanks, Eric.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Thank you, Phil, if you guys are all set. Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. thank
Next,
you.
we have a resignation and an appointment. We have a resignation from Christine Yagojinski. She is resigning from the Hatfield Cultural Council, effective immediately. So we should vote to accept that.
I'll make a motion to accept the resignation from Christine Yagojinski from the Cultural Council.
I'll second that with regret.
A motion made and second. Any further discussion?
Nope.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and thank you very much to Christine for having served on that committee. And then we have a request to actually be appointed to that committee from Lynn Lovell from Pantry Road, who has really great qualifications to be on the Cultural Council.
So I'll make a motion to appoint Lynn Lovell to the Cultural Council.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Did you say topic 3 is canceled, Marlene?
Topic 3, Historical Commission. I was notified late this afternoon that 2 of the members from the Historical Commission, well, actually, 1 member of the Historical Commission had a family emergency, and so they had asked to postpone until the next meeting.
Okay, I'd rather
that
have.
Wouldn't be a problem.
as
Hope
many
everything
of
works
them.
out okay.
Yeah, of course,
Yeah,
I hope everything's fine.
absolutely.
And then I understand topic 4
Topic
is
4
canceled as well.
It is.
We are just
Flying.
flying
So-
through this.
That was, I understand, yeah, they're interested in a BYOB, but they will be coming forward at some point with that.
Okay, very good. Okay, so now we're on to topic 5, which is an agreement to license property on Billings Way.
So we solicited for proposals for use of the property on Billings Way. You know, it's approximately 2.5 plus or minus acres, and it is for agricultural purposes. We received 1 proposal, and that was from Harrison Bardwell, from Bardwell Farm. And you should have in your packet a copy of the license agreement and a copy of his proposal. And so my recommendation is for the board to enter into an agreement with Mr. Bardwell for that property. Mr. Bardwell's proposal does include a request to use the town's water resources, and I have consulted with the DPW director, and pending a meter at the cost to Mr. Bardwell at the ag rate, he would be allowed to use the spigot back there. But I don't know if Mr. Bardwell is interested in doing that.
Okay,
but-
do we still have other ag spigots around town, right? Are they metered?
You know, I don't know. I know there are a few.
Phil's
Phil,
here.
you're still
Phil,
on.
are all the
Yeah.
ag spigots metered in town?
Except for the standpipes.
What does that mean? I don't know what that means. So,
Everybody that has farm animals has a meter that's under the ag rate. There's only like 10 or 12 of them that are on the ag rate.
but I
the
mean,
only thing
there
with-
used to be, I don't know, because I don't go down in the meadows, but there used to be pipes that they
Okay.
could all use.
So the only complaint we had was last year that the water was being used for that Bardwell farm. And, you know, the people from the community garden were complaining that there was a hose hooked up to it. So I had a discussion with Marlene about it prior to the agreement. That if he's gonna tap off of that should be metered.
So how will that affect the community garden folks?
It won't.
Okay,
That doesn't,
good, just wanted to make
Doesn't
sure.
impact
Yep,
them.
Okay.
that's fine.
And
That's-
I
that's
just
the
wanna
reason we
make
have
sure
that out
I
there.
just want to make sure that if
Right.
we're metering Harrison's
Yeah, then
water
everybody's in
usage
the
or other,
same-
I
yeah.
don't know if other, I thought that we had, I guess they would be standpipes that farmers could use that weren't metered. Is that true?
What's that? I didn't hear you.
Do we still have pipes that farmers can get water from that aren't metered?
Yes.
And I mean, I
Yes.
personally don't have a problem with that, but I just, so now Harrison's going to be metered, but the other ones aren't metered. I just don't, why the difference?
Well, I think the difference is, Phil, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the difference is the standpipes are like on the corner of what,
Yeah.
you know, so you would drive your vehicle there and grab it and what have you, but this is closer to the actual property. I think it's a different setup, Diana. On Billings Way is going to be different than, you know, I mean, the farmers have an opportunity to go to the standpipe, as would Harrison, by the way, right? To
For
get
the-
water.
Right, so he prepares the garden for the community garden.
Right.
And then he leases some of the property, that 2.5, to grow his own crops.
Correct.
But my point is, we're going to be having Harrison have to pay for the water he uses to farm this particular, but there's other farmers who are able to use non-metered water.
So
Am I
that's true-
understanding
that's
this
true,
right?
Phil?
If you go to a standpipe
The
to
standpipes
fill
are
a truck
because
or whatever.
any farmer who's going down there can use those standpipes, right?
Including
I just
Harrison.
want to make sure we're being fair to Harrison, that's
Sure,
all. I
yeah,
mean,
no, absolutely, we do
why
wanna be
would one
fair.
farmer have to use metered water and other farmers don't have to use metered water? I mean,
Well, that pipe was put in just 2 or 3 years ago on behalf of the community gardens that came before us to actually create that.
That's right,
and so wouldn't
So
the
it's
community
different than
gardens
just being-
access that water too?
they do,
They do.
they
So
do.
then, okay, so
It's
then
there
if
for
it's
them.
metered, who's
For
paying the
zip.
bill, is my question.
It's not metered now.
not.
That's why I just asked the
Suggesting it be
question.
That's why
metered?
I asked, yeah, when I talked to Phil about it, that's what I understood from our conversation, is that the current spigot that's there available for the community gardeners is not billable.
Correct.
Okay, but I thought the whole point of this conversation was they were suggesting metering
The
it.
community garden is used for watering cans, just like a cemetery that's not metered.
Right,
It's-
Okay.
It's the exact same thing, but to have somebody hook a hose onto it
Right.
to irrigate is a different story.
Okay, that, yeah,
Yes,
I understand
I would
that
agree.
now,
Yeah.
that, so you're using probably, well, I don't know, for the garden, they must be using a lot of water too, but.
Well, they all have a
okay, so
plot that's only this.
We're talking about
you know.
we're talking about two different issues.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
can approve this lease
Correct,
agreement.
right.
And then we should revisit that, because I just want to make sure that everybody's being treated fairly.
Right. So under the terms of this,
Entertain a motion?
Yes.
Okay, I'll make a
Did you need
motion.
to add anything,
I
Marlene?
just wanted to, advise the board that under the terms of this agreement, number 2, the last sentence is new language. Licensee shall have use of the town's water supply available on the property and will be responsible for the cost of a meter, including water usage at the agricultural rate, if the licensee should choose to do that.
So it is not two separate issues.
It is, because it does not have to use the water that's there and can get the water elsewhere, like like the other farmers, to your point. So what we're saying,
We
I
make
mean,
him do that. Why would we make him go somewhere else when there's a standpipe there? Why would
there's
he have
not a
to pay?
standpipe, it's a spigot that comes out
Well,
of the
it's
ground.
town
It's a
water,
different,
it's-
I hear you,
Okay.
but he doesn't,
Well,
I
I'm
guess-
assuming Harrison's in agreement with this.
Well, when I had a conversation with him yesterday, I advised him that this language was in here. I sent him a copy of this, and he was going to speak to the Ag Committee. I advised him to talk with the DPW director as well.
Okay.
Diana, I think we're being fair because he doesn't have to use that water. Just like other farmers don't have us running pipes to their farms so that
Right.
they can irrigate, you know what I'm saying? So, it's there, and if he wants to make use of it, there's a charge. If somebody wanted us to run pipes and water their fields, we would charge them to run the pipes and work on their fields.
Because the consumption
Or they can
is
drive to the
greater.
corner where the standpipes are, any farmer in town, and grab
Who's
the
gonna
water
pay
they
for
need.
that? Because the community gardens and the cemetery use the same spigot, am I right?
I don't know if the cemetery uses the same spigot. Phil, does the cemetery use the same spigot that the community garden is using?
No, that's
So
different.
the community garden uses this spigot that's going to be metered that isn't part of this agreement, is that right?
Community garden spigot, the way that I'm understanding this is that it's going to have like a dual hose connection on the spigot.
Oh, okay.
So the
Yeah.
part that goes
It
to the
would.
Bardwell farm will be metered and the other part won't.
Okay, so he would not be paying for the community garden water
No.
usage?
Correct.
No.
Yeah, just,
Right, and rightfully
his own
so.
pr-
I
for
mean,
his
that's- yeah,
crops.
right.
Okay, well, I'm still not sure it's totally fair, but
Ed's
Does- we
Ed's
need
ready to
read-
make a motion.
Do we need to read the whole article?
I
No?
think just as proposed.
Just make a motion to accept the agreement as set forth in the handout that you have
Right, as right
As
here
read.
and, yeah,
As
the
read.
agenda.
with Harrison Bardwell.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I will vote aye, because I'm in favor of the agreement. I'm just a little fuzzy on the water usage, that's all.
Apologize for the confusion.
No, I just want to make
Confusion.
sure that we're being fair to Harrison, that's all.
And I
I do
agree,
get
I
that.
think
I
we
do,
are,
yeah,
but
absolutely, yeah.
I hear you.
Because I appreciate that he is a good steward of this land.
Oh, yeah.
So, you can go.
And the cart's out front.
Pardon?
And the cart is out front.
Okay. Sorry, I probably made that take much longer than was
Oh.
necessary. Somehow I buried my
Next, we
agenda.
have water
Oh,
and
here we
sewer
go.
billing commitment.
Sharon, is that why you're here
Your
today?
collector is here.
Do you want to have, did you, oh, here it is. Sharon, come on up. That's the agreement.
Thank you.
Hello,
Hi, Sharon.
how are you?
Great, how are you?
Good. So in front of you, you guys have the next set of water sewer commitments, which we considered batch 2M for FY21. So they're in line with the previous years. I think you have sticky notes on yours that tell you in FY19, this commitment was $395,000, and FY20, it was $426,000. So FY21 is $477,000, which is right in line with, you know, a little extra usage because people are still home, but also the increase that we did on water and sewer rates. So,
If I could just interrupt you,
Yeah.
I kept that sticky because
Oh,
I was
I
thought
was
I
just
was
looking,
gonna, I thought I was gonna report out on it, but that's
Oh.
fine. So if you have that information,
I do, I just read it.
okay, oh, you did read that. See, I wasn't listening to.
Each a sticky note that looked like this,
Yeah.
so that you had it in front of you to
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
read, sorry. That just showed you that it did grow and that, I mean, there's a $50,000 growth over prior year, which is a little larger than you'd see, but it's because of our rates going up. So that's what we
And
expected to
increased
happen.
usage.
Exactly, but most, you know, the usage is up a little, the rate's up a fair amount, which we knew, which is unfortunately what we needed to happen to cover our cost. So it's just, otherwise it's just the standard, you know, letter saying that you guys are okay with these numbers and you telling me that the bills can, you know, we can bill this. So you just have to vote on
I
it.
have,
Didn't I just get a bill this week?
Yes.
I meant to
Nice.
bring it and I forgot.
I'll make a motion to authorize the fiscal year 21 billing commitment batch 2 in the amount of $242,364.63 water charges, $233,274.66 in sewer charges, and $1,775 in fees for a total of $477,414.29.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion?
No, ma'am. Thank you,
All those in
Sharon.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And they will be due on May 3rd. I think some of the bills said the 1st, but that is a Saturday, so I caught it halfway through. So as always, a bill can't be due on a Saturday, so pay your real estate bills and your water sewer bills for May 3rd, and everyone will be happy.
There you go.
Everybody's happy. Sharon, thank you
Thanks,
very
Sharon.
much. Okay. So now we're just getting into old business, which is typically just updates. Marlene, did you want to?
White Rock Trail, so the board addressed a letter to the property owner that had posted no trespassing signs
Yes.
on what we believe to be town property. And actually, the property owner contacted me, and I am in the process of setting up a site visit. So Mark Gillot from Open Space is interested in joining that site visit, and I would be glad to go out there as well. And I didn't know if someone from the board is interested, or if the board would like another town official, such as the DPW director, to also go on that site visit. So
Field trip?
I will just let you know that the property owner disagrees with the town's claim that that is town property.
Well, so we can have a meeting, but if there's not, you know, markers and stakes and, I mean, how,
pins.
It's just going to be a conversation saying, yes, it's mine, no, it's not mine, it's ours. I mean, is somebody, Mark should definitely be there if he's willing to do so.
Mark is.
I think Phil should be there. I don't know if Diana or Ed is interested. But I just don't want it to, it'd be nice to have some concrete information as we have a meeting, because that's just going to lead to more meetings down the road.
Right, well, we have a deed, a copy of the conservation
But I mean, there should
restriction
be
and the
marked,
deed.
I mean, yeah.
There should be, but
Okay.
I don't know if there are pins or markers.
I mean, I don't know that you need to be there. You certainly can go if you wish to get some fresh
I
air
think
and
it
be
should be.
outside, but,
I
you
think
know.
it should be Phil.
Yeah,
I mean, worst comes to worst, we may have to investigate a survey, right?
yeah, well, that's what I'm trying, yeah, I mean, I would like to
yeah.
think it's already got pins and everything
Well, I
else.
mean, if we
but-
have a deed, I mean, for
Yeah.
heaven's sakes, we should be able to figure that out.
But it
Let's
just,
try to keep this simple.
Right.
and-
yeah,
On that sort of same topic, now, didn't we have something with the environmental police? Or somebody out there on Reservoir Road that,
Yeah,
wasn't there,
opens-
is that all set? Was Phil supposed to meet with Mark Gillard or have a conversation? Phil, I know you're still on. I thought at the last meeting or a few meetings
Yeah,
ago, there was
Rich-
some sort of, somebody needed to iron this out.
Rich Abbott from Open Space had mentioned that the environmental police had stopped some people that were hiking up there, I
Right,
believe.
but,
Yeah.
but they were doing it because somebody's under the false impression, right? That it either is or it isn't town property, and they really had, the environmental police didn't
Right,
have the
right.
correct
I think it was-
responsibility, or responsibility to do what they were doing.
Right, right. Was that beyond, they went beyond the gate?
There was
Of the
something,
water
there was
treatment?
something like that, but
Yeah.
I also received some information over the last few days of somebody wondering, has it ever been resolved?
Okay.
So I think at the meeting when Rich and Mark were here, like a month ago, we had said that we would have somebody, whether it was somebody in the water department or Phil himself or somebody, I thought, go out there and check out what's going on. So,
Okay. We'll check those meeting
I mean,
minutes from
we
that
appreciate
meeting,
the
yeah.
environmental police doing what they're supposed to be doing. We just want to make sure everybody's doing it on the right property that's out there. And I don't know. Phil, do you have any more information on that, or not necessarily? You're muted if you're speaking. There you are.
So I have to touch base with Mark Gillard. It was about the signage that's posted up there. That's the biggest concern.
we
Yeah,
know
and
that,
making sure
yeah.
people are following the right rules
Right.
of what the signage says. Yeah, if you could do that in the next couple of days, that would be great. I mean, it all sort of is all kind of coming together up there, you know? Thank you.
I'll research the previous meeting minutes about what we were
Yeah,
going to do.
we talked about 3 or 4 different things, and,
There
yeah,
were.
yep,
Were a number of-
thank you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Town hall renovation update.
To the best of my knowledge, the condensate pipe has been repaired, and,
Thank goodness.
yeah,
I mean, on
Whatever
that, pipe, that's a issue of the pipe over the years wearing out. And I don't want to be an alarmist, but I mean, the future of that boiler and that steam system should be investigated and changed, because we've had a couple breaks on that pipe, the steam line, in various parts of the building the last few years. Last time was downstairs. They had to chop open the concrete, so
yeah.
just, I mean, eventually we got to replace that steam system.
Infrastructure.
As far as the project itself downstairs, everything's pretty much waiting for the warranties, waiting for some more books, I think, right? Other than that, I think we've pretty much complete.
Yeah.
Thank you again, Ed.
Thank
And
you, Ed.
Marlene and Phil and everybody else who's been part of that whole thing.
Be one project to
Yep.
be
Town
glad
hall
to
looks
see
great.
it's over.
It'll come off the agenda at some point.
At some point,
Yeah.
yes, it will.
Okay, CARES Act,
Nothing to report at this time.
capital planning.
Capital planning, and again, that'll continue to stay on there. So the Board of Selectmen and Finance Committee are looking at those capital projects, and we have a meeting next Monday, and
We had a lengthy one last night.
yes, we did. So next
Budget and
item,
town
the
meeting,
the
same
budget,
thing? I
town
mean,
meeting warrant article. So there is an article that has been placed on the warrant regarding the Billings Way property. If you recall, last year, there was an article to lease that property, same property we were talking about with Harrison, for a longer term. And the cemetery commission had some concerns about that article, so it was taken off. And we revisited that for the last month and a half. And we've worked out an article with town council. However, town council has advised, when we voted to accept that land, it was for municipal purposes. And so town council has advised that the Board of Selectmen vote that the property is no longer necessary for general municipal purposes. So I would ask the board to vote that tonight, and it needs to be done before that article at town meeting. So you don't have to vote it tonight, but the vote is necessary before we vote on the article at town meeting.
What's the article at town meeting gonna?
So the article, tell me, is for under the jurisdiction of the cemetery commission and for purposes of,
Does this, if I'm understanding this allows us to enter into a longer-term lease?
no, this article does not. Well, it will allow the cemetery commission to enter into a lease up to 3 years. That is in the article. And it would be the cemetery commission that would enter into that agreement.
Not the select board
Not the
anymore?
Board of Selectmen.
If it's not municipal.
if it's for
So
general-
we'd still own the property, it's just identifying it differently, so
Town
that,
owns the property, but it's under the jurisdiction of the cemetery commission, because that was the intent, that it's for future use of the cemetery.
so this goes way, way back, because I was on the board before and actually negotiated this purchase
remember
with from the previous landowner, and it was done with the idea that we would acquire it so that long-term the cemetery had it, although they even projected it would be, 50 years or more before they'd need any of that. And even that may be extended because of just how people are doing things differently now in terms of cremation. But the idea was that that would be available for recreation space.
Right.
That was the intent of that purchase. But, I mean, I love that we're using it as farming, so, I mean,
I guess my question, though, would be, what is the advantage or disadvantage of having it remain under general municipal purposes?
Well, for the,
And I'm not talking
Right.
short-term, I'm
so
talking
it would have been
long-term.
helpful if I had the article in
okay.
your packet tonight. So,
I guess what's gained or what's gained or not being able to be gained if we just leave it as it is right now? Under,
we just
So
have to
it
keep
takes-
doing yearly leases
the
with
Board of
Harrison.
Selectmen would be responsible for leasing that property or licensing that property.
And we'd have to
Give
do
this
it on
up.
a year-to-year basis.
You can still do it up to 3 years. We can do an RFP for
Multiple
up to
years.
3 years. Yeah, 1 year with the option to renew for 2
I
years.
guess, why would we do this?
so if we did
don't
this, then the land would be totally in control of via the cemetery commission
Correct,
committee, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
I don't understand why we would do that.
Well,
But don't forget that the community garden sits on that parcel.
right, yes.
We do.
So, so we it's sort of town property, right? Or it is town property, but we ask that the cemetery commission be the ones that sort of steward it in for now. But bottom line is, it is the town's property and ultimately up to the Board of Selectmen. Is that fair to say? Currently?
It's up to
It
the
is
select
the
board
way-
now, if we
it-
change it.
Currently,
it
no,
comes
currently,
under
right.
the
Right.
Cemetery. I mean,
Right.
Bob is on here. Bob, you're still on cemetery, right?
Yes, he is.
Maybe he's not really there.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wondered if he had, I don't know. I don't understand why we would do it.
Table this,
Yeah, I don't
it's not
understand why.
urgent that this vote take place tonight. It just, if we're going to do this, the board needs to vote it prior to
So
the
that,
annual
okay, so,
town meeting.
thank you.
I'd
So
like-
what is
yeah, I
going to
would like
happen at town, so,
So the article that's
Right.
on
Yes.
on the town meeting
Yes.
warrant
Yep.
presently would give the cemetery commission control of that land.
control
That's
over
correct.
whatever is currently under the towns, which is handed off to the cemetery commission to actually be in charge of, right? There's Bob. I don't know, I certainly don't have a problem with the cemetery commission, of course, overseeing it, because that's ultimately what the land is for.
Right.
But we don't know what the future holds in store for anything, right? So, I'm not sure. I mean,
Bob, I don't know if you were
honestly, I don't
hearing this
care.
or not. Did you want to weigh in, or do you?
I'm sorry, I had stepped away for a minute.
That's all right.
That's okay. You know what? I think it's kind of lengthy to backtrack on, so could we have this as an agenda item?
Absolutely.
We're just talking about the Billings Way property, the property that Harrison leases, and, but we're going to revisit it maybe at our next meeting. So,
That's fine.
okay.
I know that in our last meeting in the cemetery commission, it's ultimately under the auspices of the town, but it was in fact donated specific to cemetery purposes. So
Right.
it's kind of a catch-22 there of what we want to keep it for, because for potential growth, we don't want anything permanent, we don't want
Right.
to sell it, that kind of stuff.
Right. So the
That
way
makes
that we're
sense.
currently using it is perfect. We lease it on a year-to-year
Absolutely,
basis, or,
This is the way we as a cemetery commission would like to keep it moving the same way that it is, with the only caveat that going in the future, we would like longer agreements, and if
Yeah.
that means it needs to go to town meeting to be able to go into a 5-year agreement or even a 10-year, because we know we're not going to need that land in the next 10,
right.
that's our cemetery decision, is that's what we'd like to see, because we know what it does for farming. It takes
Yeah.
more than 1 or 2 years to get it where you need it. And we know that we will not need it as a cemetery for a number of years to come. The fields, the grass area could come sooner than we think.
I mean, doing a longer-term agreement benefits everybody, the town and the farmer, so. Okay, we'll
Absolutely.
revisit this at a meeting coming up soon.
Thanks,
All right.
Bob.
Sorry I wasn't on.
No, that's okay,
No, that's
Bob.
okay. We were waiting for you to step away before we asked you a
Yeah.
question. Thank you.
Okay, an update on the Route 5 water sewer project?
I don't have anything to report at this time. So again, that just is there until the project is complete, and at any time, if there's an update, we'll certainly report out on that.
Okay, so new biz,
Madam Chair, may I be heard on the Route 5 project?
sure.
All right, thank you. I'm Attorney John McLaughlin. I represent Ms. Sue Berry, who owns 3436 West Street. If you recall, in November, at the special town meeting, there was a vote. West Street, that property is where the Waxwing Restaurant is. And in November, at the special town meeting, there was a vote to put a raw sewage pumping station in front of the restaurant, in the front yard of the restaurant. Since I was here last, we didn't make much progress, so I initiated a lawsuit claiming that the vote was illegal, and that our engineer says that the raw sewage pumping station could go absolutely across the street in front of a residential property instead of in front of the restaurant. I've been in conversations with your lawyer. I don't want to discuss the lawsuit, but I do want to let you know that we're contemplating filing a petition for you by more than 10 voters to put an article on your regular town meeting warrant to rescind the vote from November. I've discussed it with your lawyer. He's looking into it, considering what that would be. But I want to let you know that and that's a 50% vote, not 2/3. And if we did succeed in getting the vote rescinded, then you would be left without a pathway for your sewer. So you might want to consider what to do, and if you want to do an appraisal of the property across the street, and consider an alternative warrant, or a warrant that will only come into play should we succeed on our vote, something along those lines. I didn't want to catch you guys by surprise. I'm letting you know now that this is coming. And
Okay, well, and as you said, this is pending litigation, so
yeah, I mean, there's
We're not
litigation.
discussing it
Litigation
tonight.
could take a while, but this vote is really coming up, so I just didn't want to leave you guys surprised and have you without any pathway. We don't want to stop the project. We just would like to put it across the street. That's all we're trying to do. All right? Thank you very much for letting me speak.
Okay, last item, the Pioneer Valley Mosquito Control District.
Yeah, so actually this, what sparked my interest was a letter from the Division of Local Services regarding a municipal opt-out of mosquito spraying. And there was legislation signed into law that allows municipalities that do participate in a regional mosquito spraying, that they have the ability to opt out. So about 2 years ago, Hatfield was approached by Deerfield and some other surrounding communities
That sounded familiar.
joined or formed a regional mosquito spraying services. And at the time, Hatfield just didn't have the $5,000, and I think it came late. We had already developed the budget for the year. So again, it's still $5,000 annually, I was told, and it's a fee for participating member communities. And depending on the type of services you would like, there could be additional costs, but the minimum anyway is $5,000. So I had received late yesterday afternoon this PowerPoint presentation, and just printed out, just what I had thought was really more just informative.
It looks like you pay
information. I didn't-
$5,000 to be part of,
To join it.
to join it,
To
and
join it.
they just
It's an
tell
annual
you the
fee.
type of mosquitoes you have. I'm just looking at the last page. They do surveillance monitoring, and then you can pay them more money to actually,
Right.
spray or do whatever the recommendations are.
So it would be under it's the boards of health
Yeah.
in the communities, municipalities that are participating or involved in it. And however, the requirements, though, to join requires an article on an annual town meeting warrant.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to bring this forward to the board for consideration or interest. I know that the Board of Health is interested and will be discussing it at a meeting, I believe, next week. And I do see that Bob Osley, who's the Board of Health Chair,
Yeah.
is joining us. So I don't know if Bob has anything he'd like to add.
Yes, we have our upcoming meeting on the 15th of April, and we were going to discuss it. And as you mentioned, the issue came up about 2 years ago. And at that point, it was focused more on joining the mosquito monitoring or surveillance portion of it. That was a $5,000 fee, and at that time, it was felt that that was a lot of money, and we didn't want to get involved in it. Beyond that, any actual spraying or mosquito mitigation of mosquito breeding areas is an additional a la carte charge. So that, as I think Brian mentioned, can run into a moderate amount of money, additional monies, depending on what areas and what mitigation methods are recommended. So it's something a little bit beyond just the Board of Health's decision, mainly because it does involve a moderate amount of money that would have to be approved by the town, and I'm guessing through a town meeting.
An appropriation of funds.
Yeah, Bob, I mean, we're all about controlling the mosquito population if we can. And I certainly understand the reasoning for this. One of the problems I have, or there's two problems, and they're both financially related, is the $5,000 membership. I mean, I don't know, it might have been different if the PowerPoint was it a live demonstration, the PowerPoint?
No.
Oh, So, I'll just read it so everybody can hear it. With this fee, your community will be provided with surveillance to monitor for mosquito-borne diseases, as well as your community being provided with weekly and end-of-season reports regarding mosquito activity in your community. I mean, we're next to the river, we have woods, so we know there's a lot of mosquitoes. The 21 and 22 fees will be determined based on the services requested and the scale of the job. So we're paying $5,000 up front to be part of something. And if we knew what we were getting for that, other than surveillance, I think I'd be more apt to support it. But we don't know if they actually came out to do something, what the cost is of that. I mean, it could be exorbitant on top of the $5,000. So I just don't have enough information to support this, I guess, is the bottom line for me.
Because I also, and maybe I'm wrong, and Bob, I'm glad you're here because you can answer this question. If we had a case of a mosquito-borne illness in this town, wouldn't we be notified anyway?
You mean like a triple E or?
Yeah, they would have to notify your public health.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
There are towns around us that are part of the mosquito surveillance. So, we are getting indirect information on how close some of these infectious agents are. The trend has been, we're seeing more triple E or Eastern equine encephalitis that used to be almost exclusively an Eastern Massachusetts disease coming closer. The West Nile virus is also a mosquito-borne disease. And again, the surveillance is there to identify the mosquitoes, and then they are tested to see if they are actually carrying the diseases. One thing that I had concerns about, particularly on the second portion of this, is if there are spraying measures that are recommended, how safe are these sprays? And without knowing that, I have to be a little hesitant to, throw any support into that aspect of it.
yeah, I guess,
That requires more, educating. I was hoping that
but
our health agent, Charlie Konecki, could have been here, but unfortunately he couldn't. He was one of the people that set up the Pioneer Valley Mosquito Surveillance Organization.
So-
But again, there are two parts of this, the surveillance and then the actual mitigation.
right, I understand that, Bob. So, but my question was, wouldn't we be notified anyway if I was diagnosed with West Nile, the community would be notified, right? Wouldn't the Board of Health be notified? In other words, if,
It would be,
of
yes.
course, so,
Yeah,
and
but
aren't there,
at
I'm
that
just,
point,
is this,
the disease is here.
yes, okay,
As I said, we get secondary information and heads up from the surrounding towns that have bought into the mosquito surveillance. So if it starts showing up that there is, Eastern equine encephalitis, which is, a fatal disease for the most part, then we would know that it's here in our neighborhood. Not necessarily in Hatfield, but we assume if it's in Whately, it could be in Hatfield.
right,
So
understood.
we get that secondary benefit without paying the $5,000. So.
Right, I
we
understand.
get
So-
some protection, but
Bob,
it is a lot of money.
Right. Is there some duplicity too of efforts? Are there other agencies that are also tracking these types of,
Not really. The state doesn't run any active programs, and because all of these regional programs are established.
okay,
But last year, when they were doing the Chestnut Street Bridge for the water main, there was a state vehicle there, and I asked what they were doing there. A assuming it was something with the water, with the Mill River, and they said that they were setting up traps, mosquito traps
Right.
on the Mill River to gather the mosquitoes and see, they were looking for the diseases in those mosquitoes.
Right.
So,
And again, sometimes some of those individual programs are run by universities through the state.
because this was a state vehicle, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I guess, I take the mosquito-borne illnesses very seriously.
Oh, of course.
And heavens knows we have bajillions of mosquitoes here in Hatfield, but I'm just not sure that it's a program that,
Is there a benefit to it? I
is
guess,
there a
right?
benefit to
That's
us? I think, most of us have, we protect ourselves from mosquito
tucking your
bites
sleeves.
as best
and
we
you're
can.
right.
Because, we know that there's, illness that can result, and they're just plain annoying. So I appreciate having the information, and unless somebody can come forward with some reasons why, we should join this, I'm not finding it to be particularly compelling,
Right,
personally.
and I think it's not just the $5,000, and then you
Yeah.
got ABC, you get $5,000 for monitoring, and that's fine, but then we don't know what any of the remediation costs.
Correct, and that
So
was
if
the
if
information.
that's exorbitant,
Right.
then it's not, the
Right.
5,000 isn't
And
helping you.
just because of, we are just so flooded with mosquitoes here, how would you ever,
Surrounded by water.
like, how would you ever decide what's the best
Right.
course of action, even if you
Yeah.
were going to start trying to, mitigate the breeding or whatever it is?
Yeah.
Where on earth would you even start?
Right.
So,
So
I'm,
understandably, there is a serious concern with the mosquitoes. And
course,
when this came to my attention, I started looking into it, and I did reach out to the state agency, the office that is handling this, and inquired about the cost, because it was unclear to me just what the 5,000 was covering. And then the question was, is this a one-time fee or annual? And the response was that it is annually.
that's a lot of
And
money.
then I was asking about, I said, it appears that there's other costs. Well, it depends on the services.
Right.
But what are the costs of those services?
Yes,
And
well,
I
that's
didn't
exactly,
get that
you're
information.
signing up for something
Right.
without having all the information, and that's,
Right.
we need to have all the information before we you want to make an informed decision.
Yeah,
And
maybe if we had the rest of that information, there would be something about this that made sense.
Yeah.
But, Ed, did you want to add anything?
if you want to know there's mosquitoes for $100, I'll go outside and find some for you. But the problem with this is what you guys are
And also
saying. We don't
keeping
know the cost.
Mind
We
those
don't know
as,
exactly what
ticks
we're getting. We don't
carrying,
know
tick-borne
a lot of things.
infections.
Right.
And I think a lot of, for relatively small amount of money, we should also invest a little time and small amount of money in education, educating the townspeople about tick prevention, mosquito prevention. And last year, I was in the process of preparing something to get out in the senior newsletter, but due to COVID, things got ahead. So that's something that we're getting into, that tick and soon mosquito season. And I think the Board of Health can work on something in that area.
Yeah, and I think we can get behind that, the education of the newsletter of the seniors, but, we have the conversations here on TV and on, people can see those with some sort of a presentation.
And in terms of tick-borne illnesses, there's the program at UMass where if you have a tick bite, you can, have it tested and they'll let you know if the tick was carrying Lyme. Yeah,
And also,
and it's very quick, too.
I'd like to bring up for the $5,000, I'd rather see it into the educational programs for the town.
agree.
Yeah,
I
that's a
agree.
good
And
point,
also
yeah.
some other things that we could use to help us in town, because this $5,000, I think, would be better spent at this time for the educational purposes that you're proposing. And because we don't know enough about that other program, what we're paying for.
I concur.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, Bob. So that was the end of the agenda, and we don't have to take an actual vote on this EMT form, right, Mayor?
Oh,
Marlene?
no, no,
Okay.
you do not.
You just need to sign that. Okay, I don't have anything else.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion?
No, ma'am.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you,
Thank you.
Marlene. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you, John.
Thank you.